Welcome to The Finisher, a podcast about professional wrestling and all things, well, wrestling. Here are your hosts, Jerry Pickering and Dan Nawrocki. Hey, I think we're live. We're good. Sorry, I didn't count you down.
You yell at me before we start. Hey, make sure you might.
Yeah, I know.
And then I don't get any hindsight to you. Didn't give me the Iggy to turn it back on, so you can't be yelling at me.
I didn't yell at you. Did I yell at you? Did I yell at him? I didn't yell at him. What are you talking about?
And reset. So welcome into another edition of The Finisher. As we are here live on a different weird day, on it being a Sunday, we are live on our Facebook page. And if you're not already following, if you're not already paying attention, you should be. Go get up on Facebook, look up the Finisher podcast. Not only do we do this show every week, usually on Saturdays, very rarely on Sundays, Thursday if we get a wild hair up our ass. So we do the podcast live there on Facebook, and then you have things like tonight where we will be on Facebook Live doing live reactions to NXT TakeOver in your house, and those are Facebook exclusives. The only place you can see that is right here. So you want to be, go over there, hit the like button, so you'll always know when we're coming at you.
And if you want to watch this over, it'll always be on Facebook, but it'll also be over on YouTube.
That's right. I forgot about the YouTubes.
Yes, and YouTube.
Which helps me.
The other one should be up. Yes, it is. Yes, it's just The Finisher on YouTube.
Cool. So there we go. Yeah, and then every once in a while, every couple nights a week, we'll also be up on Twitch if you find yourself being a video gamer. We're kind of at the moment working our way through the Halo saga, just a playthrough, and we'll figure out what we're gonna do after that. There's some options. Won't always be wrestling, but I'm pretty sure I'll be swearing a lot. So there's that.
He swears a lot. I mean,
you gotta have content if you're gonna stream.
It's something that happens. I'll tell you that. Dan could be an angry man, and I think we're gonna see that in one of our topics in our stories this week.
I don't know what you're talking about. Actually, no, that's not feigning ignorance. I'm not actually sure what you're talking about.
What was it? Jason Ryker?
Well, Jackson. But
Jackson. Oh, sorry, I read it wrong.
That's what I have sitting here on our big story slot of the week, in a story that just keeps evolving as the real world, as things change ridiculously in the real world. Things change with this story as well, as Jackson Ryker of the Forgotten Sons, who if you're not sure who they are, then they've done a pretty good job being forgotten already. Had it tweeted out earlier, was it last week, right, as all of the protests kept going over the death of George Floyd, and then he throws that out, a tweet being thankful to God for the president, and ties in his tagline for the Suns: "Forgotten no more." Yada yada yada. And so people were kind of like, "Man, why you gotta join that in there?" And then they remembered, back last year that he called Black Lives Matter garbage, told them they should be happy for how good they have it.
Idiot.
And then a picture of him from 2017 and what could be considered blackface showed up. So, and now he's gone private and on social media, and there's no. It's going to be a little bit for him to recover. We may not see him on TV for a while.
The Forgotten Sons is going to go just to a regular tag team.
Possibly. I mean, there's things backstage where people are saying that there are people that want to see him at a taping so that they can talk to him and go, dude, like, I think you're missing the point of all these protests here. I think you're kind of, it's not a Trump thing. Like, there's a lot more involved here
Yeah.
besides just that.
Besides the
And,
political landscape.
right. And I mean, because that's not to say that there aren't Trump supporters who work there. There Trump supporters work everywhere. That's just the thing. Like it, and that's not to say that he's that because he works like because he's a wrestler and I like wrestling, he has to think the way I do about or have the same opinion about things. That's not to say that at all. Um, but at the same time, it sounds publicly ignorant.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, it seems extremely publicly ignorant to
You know, I'm gonna go ahead and play this. I want to find it real quick. Um, there was a show years ago that would be on like it was like on Friday nights or whatever, along with like Step by Step, and the theme song is perfect. It fits what's going on,
Mosquito protect.
and it's not the mosquito protecting commercial that's airing.
it's airing instead.
What was that?
So it's not the ad that's going to air instead.
Yeah, I know. Just listen to the lyrics.
Rare condition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. Love and tradition of the grand design, some people say is even harder to find. Well, then there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls. 'Cause all I see is a tower of dreams, real love bursting out of every scene.
Like the beginning of that song, like there's no good news on the newspaper page.
Like I was trying to figure out the parallel we're drawing between
And
this and Family Matters.
I mean, just saying, just the song of it, it kind of goes hand in hand. Like there's no good news anymore.
No.
Everything has been bad. Oops, sorry. Everything has been bad for how long now? I mean, it all started, and it all started with Kobe. Kobe died right after Kobe died. You know, that was a huge thing. That was huge, and then not long after that, we got a pandemic.
This year has just been kind of general. Everyone forgets because it feels like it's so long ago that Australia was burning down for most of January. Like,
Yeah.
all of it. And then we had a virus start to creep in, and then we lost Kobe, and things have just basically. I think all this problem started New Year's Day. Like it was January 1. All right, there we go.
2020 is it's an awful year.
It has not been a man. I guess that's the problem. Is that when you get to a point you say we have to look for good news. Like you have to search hard for good news.
You have to really search for some good news in this country or in this world.
And I think that's probably part of what makes this story sort of annoying is that you look at an industry like wrestling that's been lucky enough to continue where almost every other form of entertainment has been curtailed by this pandemic. We're not going to get baseball. Well, we're not going to get baseball because money. We might get basketball. We might get hockey. We don't know if we're going to get football. So the major outlets of a lot of for entertainment are closed down. You can't go see a band. You can't go see a play. You might be able to go see a movie here in the next month or so, but I don't know how many people are going to do that, and I don't know how many theaters are going to be able to sustain themselves. Restaurants and bars may be struggling for the better part of the next year or so.
Yeah,
hey, at least I got to watch some wrestling, and at least there's something going on a couple nights a week that I can kind of just unplug from the rest of the world and watch. And this is not to say that wrestlers aren't people who have opinions on issues going on in the community and don't pay any attention to politics. Obviously, they're humans, they're citizens, they do and they should. The appropriateness is the question, and how you are going to be received by some of your coworkers when you get
Yeah.
back to work is the question. If you haven't had a chance to see, is Xavier Woods wasn't responding to Ryker, but had a lot to say about the protests in the country in general. If he didn't get a chance to see that, it's up on the company YouTube page. It is well worth your time. How do you explain that? How do you go back to work next week and explain what you said about Black Lives Matter to someone, to Xavier Woods? How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that he's gonna be in hot water for quite a while
But I mean, not with management, not
with a lot of
with some of
superstars.
his colleagues, possibly.
Yeah,
That's a thing that could be a thing. Um, you know,
it's gonna be a lot of
it,
stiff working around him, I think.
though. But here's the thing: we're not in that time anymore. Um, that's how the business used to be. You
Yeah,
know what? If but even then, honestly, back in the day, it was extremely unprofessional to go out there and just beat on somebody because they said something you didn't like back in the back. If there was a problem, if you had a problem with the person, you did business, then you beat the shit out of them in the locker room. If there was something to be said, you didn't do it in front of the fans. There was something
it's
that needed
true.
to be done. You didn't do it in front of everybody where it could hurt the business. So I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of stories of people having personal issues that end up in the ring and bad things happen. But I would think that's not how that is anymore, or shouldn't be.
I mean, the whole situation is not good. The whole situation going on in the country isn't good. But that's not what we are about, and we're not gonna get into the politics and all that. We're just talking about wrestling.
I mean, and it's just unfortunate that you
We
couldn't dodge that this week.
Yeah, it's
It forced its way into this, and
we got to say something.
yeah. But we'll leave the rest of that to the side for now.
But so was it last month before, when 30 superstars were let go?
Mhm.
One was let go, but he was still working. He
Yeah.
was still in a tournament for the cruiserweight title.
And if you remember correctly, which we shared, I believe it's on our page somewhere, that Drake Maverick's message after being released, his message to the fans, where he certainly got emotional.
Very, very emotional.
Um, turns out that he was still working for the company because they had him in this tournament that they had booked and started, and then they decided to let him go. They couldn't do that. So Drake Maverick's been working the Cruiserweight Championship tournament on NXT. And then, excuse me, I don't know if it was they decide after seeing what happened, they decided to turn the story around and book him all the way to the finals. Because they very easily could have just, he could have buried him. He could have gone 1 and 2 and wouldn't even have played a factor into it. So the question is whether or not this was a planned angle that they were going to release him. They say he was legitimately released and was on a pay-per-appearance basis until he signed that deal on NXT on Wednesday. He didn't win the belt, by the way.
No, but he got a
contract. That's how the show finished. Triple H magnanimously walked out and handed him a contract when he should have said we shouldn't let him go in the first place.
It's true. A lot of them should have been let go.
But there are some people who were not happy that to see that come back seemed like it was a little frustrating. Some other people who might have gotten released and were not given the option to have an angle rewritten about their professional struggles with now having to look for work.
And that would be Leo Rush was not happy about all this.
He put it out on social media. Like, look, he said he was super happy for anybody who got their job back, but thinks that the real trauma of so many should not have been exploited for a storyline. I mean, I get it. I can understand where he's coming from. I mean, like he said, they were literally making a mockery of legitimate firings, and I can understand how he would see that.
Yeah, like he wasn't happy about that. I was just pulling up the article, but it's taking forever for it to load on What Culture, so I can't read it, or I would have. You may have it already up.
But he's not the only fired wrestler to express some anger at the company recently, and not because he was fired, for other reasons.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is something that I just saw, which I don't know if you included in the story, but Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder, there's some of his merch as well.
Nice.
If you're interested, that he said he got a phone call from someone at the WWE who wanted to see if they could shoot an angle with Otis and Mandy Rose at his pool.
Oh, was that the angle they aired?
That was the angle they aired. They had asked Zack Ryder if they could use his pool to shoot that angle. And on his podcast, he vented his anger at that one. Actually, apparently, he's telling the dude who called, "You fired me, but you want to use my pool."
Yeah, that's a little messed up.
That's that's ballsy on a level on the company side that that's like, that's like a breakup and then going, yeah, but can I still borrow your car every once in a while? Like, what the?
Can we come? I mean, the angle. I mean, it was hilarious. Yes, Fred, his pool. Fred's watching.
His pool.
His pool.
His pool.
His damn pool. But just to, you're fired. By the way, hey, we want to come over and have some extra people who are actually working for the company film something in your swimming pool.
Yeah. I mean,
no.
Like, no.
Pay me.
That's what I say. I would charge you, like, okay, but not only we're working triple time union rates here for a site fee.
Yeah, bogus, Fred. That's right. But I wouldn't have done it. That'd be like, some guy named someone else coming to come use my equipment in my office. I ain't gonna let it happen. Nope.
Just pointing out, I ain't said shit. I ain't saying a word. But no, I think that's the best. Like I said, the best comparison. You broke up with me. No, you can't come over and use my stuff still. I don't know how else to put that. Ballsy from the company.
Super. So that 5 times fast. Super ballsy.
Super. So that was just a side story. Another thing I had on the list here of things to talk about. It kind of goes back to the serious angle a little bit because I want to get back to that. But the owner of AEW dropping the ban hammer randomly. I don't know what happened here. I just saw this story,
brother,
trending, and apparently all of a sudden Hulk Hogan, who has never made any kind of gestures toward AEW, is absolutely banned.
Sorry about that. Turn my phone off. Yeah, Hogan banned from AEW. Why? Well, I mean, what was the point in it?
I think he's still been reacting to the Gawker tape
Oh.
in the wake of everything going of all of all the protests here. So he's banning him for that like I it just grandstanding, honestly. It's absolutely and utterly
Yeah.
grandstanding. And there was no reason for him to do that. Like no offense, Tony. Like, and again, I'm a fan of your company, but Hogan wasn't showing up backstage trying to weasel his way into to the show, because he also would have tried to take creative control if that was the case.
Yes.
So, like, it's grandstanding, and it's something you said last week that, like along the same lines, when he made a public donation to the GoFundMe for Shad, and you're like, that's great, and that's a really good gesture, but it feels way too much like trying to pull some good PR.
Exactly. It was more like, hey, look at me. Look what I did. Come watch us. We're nice.
And it shouldn't necessarily even be something you need to say because of the stance of the company that you're running and the stance of the people who are running that company.
And then you got someone like John Cena who donated $40,000, but he didn't put his name on it.
Right.
He
right.
put 3 letters, and you had to go back and people research it to figure out that was him.
And that says a lot about him.
And he still hasn't said anything.
Right. That says a lot about him as a man too.
Yeah.
And the relationship he had backstage with Shad. So that yeah, I just as I saw that story come through, I'm like, that's just there's not even, I don't understand the gesture at all. Like, I don't even understand what you think thought you were going to accomplish with that.
PR. That's what he was accomplishing with it. He was accomplishing.
Yeah, but
PR.
Who looked at that? Who read that and said, "Oh, well, good for them. I should pay attention to them." Like, it's not. No one thinks you're better because you banned Hulk Hogan 5 years after it was fashionable to ban him. Like, I don't get the. I'm a fan of the company. It just didn't seem like anything that needed to be done.
Yeah, I'll still watch.
So before we get into tonight's action, which we do have to get into because we do have predictions to worry about here, there was one other story that came out, especially after Raw this past week, where Superstar got hurt, and people have been very opinionated over whose fault it is and what should happen. As Kairi Sane, Kairi Sane took a nasty knock in her match with Nia Jax, and
oh my gosh, that was horrible to watch.
Got laid wide open, and there are a lot of people who are blaming Jax for screwing that spot up, and a lot of backstage rumbling that people don't want to work with her. They don't think she should still be on the main roster or even have a job after this.
Really?
She's got a bit of a history. I mean, remember how she kind of screwed up Survivor Series last year with one errant punch?
Oh, busting up Becky Lynch's nose.
Busted Becky Lynch. When you have a history of being and that's the rough part. Like, you can't. It's tough to blame. Okay, for us to observe from outside and blame, it's really tough. I don't know. I don't know the propers, what was going on. A lot of people are saying like there wasn't a whip involved in the step. She just kind of grabbed her and chucked her, and she's big and strong enough that she could do that.
Yeah. She's not any kind of size, but she's massive.
The big girl.
She's a big girl. And she's strong.
Yeah. So you could see that, it's kind of one of those, as someone like Kairi, like, she can put someone where she wants her to be, and there's going to be very little resistance put up. I don't know. Like, she can throw you around if she wants to.
Yeah, exactly.
This is it's a very interesting conundrum is what should happen to her moving forward. If the company actually is upset that she's hurting, they believe she's unsafe and is not taking care of her fellow worker, then you've got to do something,
Got
because
to
no
pull
one.
her and do her more training.
But does anyone down in developmental want to work with her?
Probably not.
Once you get a reputation for hurting someone and being careless, it's really hard to drop that, because it's hard to find willing participants.
I know I wouldn't. Not at all. I'd be too afraid.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, if you go in knowing that there's a good chance that while I'm going to give this person my body, she may not take care of it, you get hesitant, and that shows.
You get
Issue.
scared as you're in there doing doing the moves, whatever, and you miss a step because you're worried.
Right. I mean, you could. I mean, there's the possibility of I suppose the possibility of catastrophic failure if you're more concerned about whether or not you're going to eat a potato than trying to make sure you're doing a spot properly so you don't get hurt or do any hurting.
Understand? Definitely.
The worst part is that seems to be the news worth talking about out of the Raw brand as of late.
It's been nothing.
It's been kind of. I mean, Apollo Crews won the U.S. title.
That was good.
Which was good. I didn't know when they were going to finally pull the trigger there, but sounds like it's about time. Very cool.
We have new women's tag team champions.
Yeah, but it's a new women's tag team champions last night.
Or Friday night, and Sasha Banks and Bailey.
Only pushing. See, and again, I like this because it only pushes farther down that, like, they're brilliantly playing with this whole split angle between the two. Like, at what point do these two finally split and have the explosion? Like, it has to happen at some point.
Yeah.
And I think putting the tag belts on them might be that the beginning of the catalyst. But if not, and they go on to hold them for a couple months, even better, because that just draws that angle out even more, so that when it finally happens, it will be huge.
It's gonna happen. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. They've done it before. They've done it many times. They're gonna split them up again.
At some point, at some point, that coward Bailey is going to jump right through the barbershop window to get away from Sasha.
I see what you did there.
I was wondering. I was wondering if anyone else got that.
I do. I gotcha. But we do have predictions to do for tonight.
We do. And interestingly enough, as we were mentioning before, it is in your takeover in your house, and there's only 6 matches on the card. So it's also like the old school in your house. That way, is it's only set up to be an hour and a half or 2-hour show, which I find hilarious. I thought that's perfect. Having gone back and watched a lot of these, and I'm still trying to work my way through them all, I find it fascinating that they're willing to go back and embrace the nostalgia. There's rumors that the old In Your House set will make an appearance. That would be great. Amazing.
Are they giving away a home?
They are not giving away a home. And that turned out really, really poorly. That's why they only did that for the first one. But I believe, and I couldn't find it, but I believe somewhere Todd Pettengill is in a promo. So I don't know if he's going to show up tonight or if he'll just be part of, the opening video or something, which would also be pretty cool.
I'm excited.
Anybody who grew up watching, anybody who grew up watching those shows remembers the over-the-topness of Todd Pettengill fondly, one way or the other. Or if you're in New York and you listen to him on the radio for years, maybe you don't finally remember him and you're glad that he's finally off the air. I don't know.
But like you said, there's only 6 matches.
Yep.
And I got my picks. I've only got 2 matches, and they're the two title matches that I'm wavering on. So we're gonna save those for last.
Well, now would be the time to make the picks. But let's go ahead and start off with the 6-woman tag match is Mia Yim, Shotzi Blackheart, and Tegan Knox will take on Evil Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez.
I'm going Mia, Shotzi, and Tegan.
Going with the faces, okay. And wow, see, this is what lost me the title last time, but I'll go with it again as I take the heels of LeRae, not Kai, and Gonzalez. Look, this is just the kind of the way I look at this. Is everything is they kind of tied all these women they had on TV and just kind of threw them together in a 6-man, so all of these storylines can align. It could go either way, but it feels like the heels can still win and you can still continue all these stories without hurting your faces.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who takes the pin.
All right, so next match we have Finn Balor, Damian Priest.
Finn Balor's am I reading this wrong? Finn Balor's being set up for a trip out to NXT UK and a run against Walter, right?
I did not hear that, but possibility.
Fair enough. And nothing Damian Priest has done has really been that impressive besides just being a big heely guy.
Yes.
Okay, so I feel pretty safe in saying this could be Balor. It has the potential to be a really good match, but I don't see I don't see them not giving it to Balor.
You got Finn. I got Finn as well.
Okay.
All right, the next match, Keith Lee. Skipping over Charlotte. Keith Lee versus Johnny Gargano for the NXT North American title. I'm gonna stick with Keith Lee on this one.
You're keeping the belt in place. All right. And I am not going to make the safe pick here. I believe that there is something that a bigger payoff to this whole story would be Lee getting the belt back. So I will go with that, with us having a new North American champion tonight and one Mr. Johnny Wrestling.
Johnny Gargano. You're not getting the belt back. I'm keeping it. I haven't had that long. All right. Charlotte Flair, current champion, versus Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's title.
You're the undecided one. I have my reasons. Go ahead. I'm not helping you with my
No,
logic.
No, you're good. You're good. I don't know why they sent her down for the NXT title, Charlotte. So part of me wants to go Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte would go back to the main roster.
She's been on all three
brands.
She's
still on all three damn brands. I don't know. I'm gonna say Charlotte retains.
I'm also picking the safe pick in Charlotte. That's not what I wanted them to do.
No, I don't either.
I want them to put the belt on Shirai. But that's neither here nor there. But do I think they'll actually pull the trigger? No, but I've been wrong about that a lot of times. So
I'm not a fan of Charlotte.
I'm probably not as big as I should be.
I don't like her. Not at all. Now the main event, Adam Cole.
Before we get to the main event, you've completely skipped an entire match.
I did? Oh.
Yeah, you did.
I went right past Tommaso Ciampa and Karrion Kross.
Karrion Kross.
I got my pick, so whenever you're ready, go ahead.
I'll let you go first. Like I said, go ahead. What do you got?
I got Kross.
Yeah, there's no way. There's absolutely the way that he came in. There's absolutely no way he loses his first big match.
Nope.
Now the problem is the question that has to be asked: what do you do with Ciampa after that? Like, he's gonna need some time. Like what do you do? He lost the thing with Cole. The feud with Gargano is over, and he lost one last beat or one final beat or whatever the hell they called it. And unless this becomes a more drawn out thing and they flesh the story out some more after tonight, he's gonna then eat the L to Cross, and without really getting anything back for it.
Is he gonna move up to the main roster then, like the original
I
Bro?
I'd be fine with that, but I've also heard him express before in interviews that he doesn't want to. He has no interest in the main roster. He's
Gotcha. That's true. I don't.
perfectly
That's
good,
right.
happy in running NXT.
So
So I have no idea.
I hate that if he loses, but there's no way they're gonna Cross is gonna take it now.
Like
It's like you said, the way he came in.
can't and the way he came in, and then if you bring him in his first match, he loses. You've just kneecapped a potential star. But what would be? I mean, I can see them doing it, but what would be the point?
There would be no point.
No point.
No point whatsoever.
No points.
So that brings us now. Sorry, I skipped over that one to our main event: Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream. Last chance backlot brawl.
Right. So what we know about this match is it's in the can and it's already done. It will not be live from Full Sail tonight.
It's another movie shot match.
And with it being termed as a backlot brawl, there also happens to be a lot of potential for what they do with that. So I assume we're not going to see another car chase through the streets of Orlando, Florida.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm thinking Piper Goldust.
Right. I don't think we're going to see that one.
Oh.
But the potential is quite there with these two performers to play very well into a cinematic type match like that.
Now, this one was, like I said, another one was hard for me to choose from because there's been rumors of Adam Cole not wanting to resign, his wife being over in AEW, wanting to join her. Is that something that's going to happen, or is he going to continue to sign? Is Hunter going to fight for him and keep him?
Well, if there was going to be an effort to fight for Adam Cole, and there should be, they would be insane to let him go. Go out the door, because if you're AEW and he becomes available, good Lord, the amount of stuff you could do, because again, he also, not just his girlfriend is over there, but a lot of the people he's worked with in the past. He and Hangman have a long storied history that they could immediately sweep right into.
Oh yeah.
So anybody that worked with Ring of Honor for that 3 or 4 year period has history with Adam Cole. So there's easily things to do. So that's why I would assume the thing that you don't do is end a very historic run with this belt in this type of match. Does Dream deserve to be a champion? Probably. I'd say probably that he probably deserves to hold the belt on that brand. But is this the time and place? And then is Adam Cole the guy that he should be taking off of? I don't think so.
You're taking Adam Cole, as am I.
I'm taking Adam Cole. Also because I don't feel that there's been quite enough legwork yet to justify the disintegration of the Undisputed Era. The seeds have been planted, but that nothing has started. I don't feel enough has started to grow yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand.
So
those are our picks. What do we got different? We got
6-woman tag and the North
Keith
American
Lee.
Championship. So once again, it'll be 2 matches that decide. That'll come down to what we do. Yeah.
And you want to know who wins? Just make sure you tune back here this evening around 6:45, 7 o'clock. We'll be live watching, and this is what you'll see out of me. watching on the TV.
See, this was what you will see from is this whole right side. So just get used to this because I'm just going to turn my chair.
Oh, see, if you do that, I can do this. Ka. Ow. Come on.
I mean, I suppose I could just pick this up and move it over there and then just look over the computer. I have options. I don't have space, but I have options.
No space, we have options. Hey.
But that also means I'm going to have to, like, put laundry away if I do that. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. That really doesn't seem
But next, what we have to do now is we have a top 5.
Yeah, it's time to finish up. We got to wrap up with our top 5. And this was an interesting one that we drew, and I wasn't really quite ready for it until I sat down last night to finalize this.
Because you probably have a giant list.
I mean, I got 5.
That's it?
8.
You have honorable mentions?
Yeah.
All right.
Technically 9.
Possibly 10. By the time we get done, 28.
No, actually. And I'll point to that. So the top 5 I drew was worst women's champions. And like I said, I don't know how you felt looking at the list and going back to the title histories, but this one was actually hard for me because I think it's been a long time. It's been a while since you could say that an undeserving woman has held one of these championships.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I suppose this is probably something I should have mentioned earlier when we first decided to do this, but I just decided to come up with it yesterday. For the purposes of this list, we're looking at all the belts that have represented a women's champion in WWE. So the original, like, Moolah belt, the Divas title, the unified title for that hot minute, and then the brand split belts.
I went with just the Diva one. I didn't know.
You're fine. There's more than
I
enough.
swear that's what we had said.
There's more than enough.
Oh yeah, I've got 5. I've got 5, and I'll start with my first one. My number 5, Kelly.
Okay.
More of a show model valet than a champion. I don't think she had the skills to actually be a champion in my mind.
You won't hear her name come out of me, only because I was willing to dig a little deeper and see that towards the end of her run, she did improve.
Yeah, she improved, but she didn't deserve it when she got it.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely argue that one.
But that's my number 5.
But my number 5 actually falls into that a little bit more so because my number 5 is Jillian Hall. And I don't remember much about her, and except what most people remember about her. That thing on her face that the boogeyman bit off. Which was one of the things that, like, helped me give up on WWE at the time.
Oh, God, that was awful.
You got to remember, this was in the middle of that guest GM phase, and the co-host of Entertainment Tonight put her in a match and got her the belt, and then immediately made her defend the belt after beating a Bella. The only reason she's only in the 5 slot is that she won and lost the belt on the exact same night, even though those 5 championship minutes were way too long for her to have a belt around her waist.
I agree 100% of exactly everything you just said.
Number 4.
That's why she's my number 4.
Well, there you go.
I put a little dash mark next to every time you guys have the same one. I put it right next to it. Yeah. So we don't have to talk exactly the same way, same thing. Worthless. The whole giant growth angle was awful.
Yeah, like there was no favors were done for her whatsoever by creative.
Her singing.
Yeah, all the singing. Yeah, no. Like I said, no for character. No favors were done for her by creative.
Not at all. So who's your number 4?
My number 4. So you're going to focus on one bad era, and I'm going to probably end up focusing a lot on another bad era because my number 4 champion is Deborah, the former Deborah McMichael.
Okay.
But so let's look back and remember how she won the belt. You remember how she won the belt?
I do not.
Shawn Michaels liked her tits. That was it. It was an evening gown match.
Those were always good.
She lost her clothes the fastest, and the commission gave her the win because of her cleavage. Then she defended this belt once in a 35-day reign, and that was the match in which she lost it. A stark reminder that 1999 was a far, 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 far cry from the women's division that we enjoy now.
It's a lot different back than it is now. It's a lot different now than it was back then.
Now,
if I can speak.
our women's workers work.
They work damn hard.
In 99, they just stripped.
A lot of bra and panties matches and evening gown matches and in a tub of pudding.
Oh, hold all those thoughts.
Victory sip.
You're number 4.
My number 4. My number 4 is Mickie James. I never liked the character.
Your list is automatically invalid.
I never liked their character.
Yep, you're done.
I'm done.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, screw you, bitch.
Yep.
Never liked her character. I hated the whole where she came in being obsessed with Trish Stratus.
Psycho line was great.
I don't know. I never liked it. I thought it was cheesy.
There were some elements that were, the presenting her friend tied up in a giant box. Sure, that was a bit off the beaten path. But here's the other main argument I would say to anyone that you're probably going to put on this list. She can work.
She can work. Yeah, she can work.
And still is working.
Is she still employed? Or was she recently let go too? I can't remember.
I don't. There were way too many names, but until very recently, she was working.
She was. Both that and her porn career.
I mean, there's that. That's a thing that happened back there as well.
A long time ago. But that's my my number 4.
Okay. I mean, look, everyone is entitled to be wrong. My number 3, and I also feel like on some of these I'm educating you on this one as well, is the Cat.
The Cat, yeah.
You remember that one?
I remember the Cat.
So
wasn't she married to Lawler?
I say, there we go. Let's wander back to that point.
Puppies! Sorry.
1999, where that was the programming. And before that, Ivory held the belt, who was one of the best female workers.
Oh yeah.
In void of talent, and maybe you could easily say one of the more talented of all time. So how do you take the championship off of her? Well, you give it to the King's latest wife in a 4-way evening gown pool match. Then in the middle, you give her a 2-month run with the belt, and you have her only defend it in evening gown matches and gravy bowl matches, and in a pool full of chocolate, which I would say is the bottom of the barrel for the women's division in 1999, but she also lost the belt in a Lumberjill Snow Bunny match to my number 2 entry.
To your number 2 entry?
Yeah, see, we call that a tease.
I like that. My number... Wait, number 3?
Your number 3, yeah.
My number 3 was Brie Bella.
I'm not doing the thing. Don't ask me to do the thing.
Do what?
Don't do the thing.
What a thing.
Don't do the thing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Just go on.
Both the Bellas. I mean, I think Nikki was a better worker, if that, but both of them I weren't a fan of either one of them, so I could have put both of them on the list. But I never really was a fan of her. Not that great in her movesets. Not a great worker at all. So that's my number 3.
So let me get to the number 2, who won the belt from the Cat. Well, person Hervina. I can see the confusion in your face, so let me go ahead. So yeah, so like I said, in that Snow Bunny match, in which, by the way, the cat was dressed as an actual bunny and rolled around in some kind of foam stuff that sort of looked like snow, she was beaten by Hervina in a tracksuit. Hervina, by the way, was Harvey Whippleman. It was Harvey fucking Whippleman in drag. At least when a man got in drag was crowned Miss WrestleMania, the fucking belt wasn't on the line. If there's a positive, it's that his reign lasted one day and he got starched by Jacqueline the very next night. That, I would say, capped off the worst era of the belt right there in the very beginning of 2000. Yet, still not the worst reign in the belt's history.
Gotcha. That's your number 2?
My number 2.
My number 2? I think she only got this because of her last name. And it's a McMahon.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie McMahon. You only got that title because your daddy's the boss.
She was in that morass of 1999, somewhere in 2000, somewhere where it was there, but it was barely there, and it meant so little.
And her having that title means nothing to, in my mind, any wrestling fan.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'll admit I also don't have her anywhere because I was just so meh on that whole thing.
Yeah, that's my number 2.
As you mentioned, I do have a few honorable mentions before I get to the number 1.
Do it to it.
So let's start with the Bellas. Pick a Bella, doesn't matter. With as much as I have complained about the Botch twins in the past, you'd have figured they'd be number 1 on this list. Hell, one of them holds the records for the most reigns with the Divas title. Blech. Well, okay, shares with AJ Lee, one of the few Divas champions that actually made that belt relevant at the time. But for the most part, all of their time with the title came at a point where it was also at one of its most irrelevant levels, so not much damage done there.
Gotcha.
Also deserving well, I don't know if deserving honorable mention is fair. But Nia Jax, everyone's piling on her at the moment, so her 2.5 reign as Raw Women's Champion has been really completely forgotten. Is it fair to put her here for sins more recently committed? I suppose you could argue that her reign was a low point before the Rowdy one and the man got a hold of that belt and made it what we know of it now. And one last honorable mention goes to Jazz.
I thought about that.
And I say that saying that it's barely fair. Because if she had come up in this era of the business, she would be having insane matches with the level roster, the level it is now. Unfortunately, she came through at a time where we were far, far from the revolution, and she was too good in the ring to be messing around with a bunch of models.
Exactly.
Thanks, Johnny. Because of her era, her reigns were completely uneventful and actually ended in ridiculous stipulation matches both times. But far from the worst. The worst women's champion of all time. And I realize the risk I do take in saying this to my own bodily harm, but Sable.
Really?
Of all of the talent vacuums to hold that title, Mrs. Lesnar was the suckiest. She held that belt for like half a year, okay? Never really like improved in the ring. Never came off that she wanted to improve in the ring. And her most memorable moments as the women's champion revolved around her boobs. Surprise, surprise for the Attitude Era.
Dear Brock Lesnar, I have no say in this. This is not me. This is all Dan.
Okay. There have been plenty of stories, from backstage explaining why the Vinces, McMahon and Russo, made sure to push this woman to the moon in the middle of the Attitude Era, for better or for worse. But everyone who came after her could actually do something in the business. Could legitimately be insulted that Sable's name is in the same title history as theirs.
All right. To each his own. My number one, completely different era. No longer with the company. Alicia Fox. Do you remember her at all?
Nope.
Exactly.
Couldn't pick her out of the lineup.
That's why. And that's another reason. She was a nobody who got a title shot and got a reign. And she was awful.
I mean, that's a pretty good indicator if your champion was so memorable that
no one can remember. But so those are our top 5. Who are your top 5 worst women's champions? Leave that on our Facebook post. I made a post earlier, saying we're going live a couple times today. Put it on there. Let us know who your top 5 is. Whatever. And now we're going to pull. Dan's got the cup.
Right? Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
You're going to pull a new top 5.
This was a rough one. This was a rough one. So let's hope for something a little more fun. All right. Just one, please. What do we got here? So for next week, we will do our... Okay. This one's going to be fun. You've got a lot of research to do.
Great.
Because next week, we'll be doing our top 5 favorite indie and or Japanese matches. So, I'll be carrying that one, I feel.
Here's how this one's going to go for me, just so everyone is aware and just knows. I'm going to go and I'm going to do some watching. And I'm going to be like, guys, you said best? Favorite. I'm going to go just pick 5. And there's going to be no reasoning at all whatsoever. This one. Number 4 is this one. I don't watch any Japanese.
So yeah, like I said, this
only indie stuff. Only indie stuff I've seen is just right here local. I've only been to a few because there's not many of them anymore. And the ones that I've been to were god awful, minus one of them. It was actually pretty good. But
so I mean, when you say indie, that encompasses basically everything that's not the big 2. So, Ring of Honor would fit into that.
Okay.
Evolve would fit into that. PWG would fit into that. All of the Japanese promotions, and there's a lot of history there. So there's plenty that if you look hard enough, you can find some stuff that you like.
I will be doing some research on it. So I have that up on a sticky note on my monitor. So I will remember.
I'm glad I'm not the only one because I just keep the piece of paper right here next to my computer all week so that I know it's there.
The sticky notes, I have the rundown printed out, and I wrote everything on that.
Oh, you even printed that thing out, huh?
Yes, buddy. Trying to be organized.
Sort of pretending to be professional here.
Professionalism is the key. Or something like that. So, thank you guys. Huh? What'd you say? Did you say screw that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I thought so. So make sure you leave us on our Facebook page your top 5 worst women's champion. Also, give us your top 5 favorite indie Japanese matches.
We'll get that to tomorrow, but more importantly, or get that to that next week. More importantly, join us in about 5 hours from now. Oh, God, 5 hours from now. Okay. Yeah, join us back again, but 5 hours from now, we'll be back right here grab your network connection, turn it on in your house, and join us as we'll react to whatever it is that we'll be seeing, and hopefully, because it's a takeover, it will not be as negative as the last couple of pay-per-views have been.
Let's hope it's good. Let's hope it's good. But hey, if it is bad, we will make fun of it. We will mock it.
That's what I'm here for.
But I guess, real quick, I guess they're going to start letting fans come in Florida.
Oh, I saw that. Okay.
We'll talk about that. We can talk about that during the pay-per-view when boring match is on.
Yeah.
If there's something bad happening or whatever.
Yeah.
So make sure you join us back right here this evening around 6:45, 7 o'clock for NXT TakeOver in your house.
Facebook exclusive, so make sure to like it.
I don't have the horn. So come back here, watch us. Make sure you go follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram. You can find all of that information over at thefinisherpodcast.com. You just click on our where to find us, and there's all the links right there, all of our podcast locations and everything. So make sure you guys shoot us a like, comment, favorite, all that stuff. And we will see you guys right here in, like Dan said, roughly about 5 hours. So we'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Maybe.